Hey monsters! Thanks for tuning in to Murder Murder News, the true crime cult for the latest breaking news, murdery memes, TV reviews, podcast recommendations, and all things spooky. If you love Halloween and have some thoughts about the new Chris Watts show, we want to invite you to join our true crime cult. We'll spend our days hanging out with Black Phillip the Goat while sharing our theories on who we think the Zodiac Killer is. I'm television's Aurora Katie.
And I'm your online murder friend, Angelina. Cults are no fun alone, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell all of your true crime friends to join the commune at MurderMurder.news. This is the Week in True Crime. Last week, 26-year-old Bailey Boswell was convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and improper disposal of the human remains of her Tinder date, 24-year-old Sydney Loofe, in November of 2017. Last year, Bailey's 53-year-old boyfriend, Aubrey Trail, was found guilty in this same case. During his trial, he cut his own throat in the courtroom, yelling, "Bailey is innocent, and I curse you all." He confessed to the killing, but claimed that Bailey only helped him to clean up the crime scene. Ms. Boswell previously claimed that she went on an ordinary Tinder date with Sydney Loofe. They had a great time, talked about going on another date to the casino, and then she never saw her again. She also released a Facebook video after her initial arrest in which she claimed that she was innocent and the case against her was illegitimate. Surveillance footage shows Trail and Boswell shopping together for a hacksaw, tin snips, and drop cloths at a Home Depot in Lincoln, Nebraska just hours before the murder. Bailey Boswell arranged a date with Sydney Loofe on Tinder and lured her date to her basement apartment, where Trail intercepted, strangling Sydney to death with an extension cord. Sydney's cell phone went dead 24 minutes into the date, so it seems that her murderers acted swiftly. The guilty couple then cut up her body and deposited it into 13 trash bags that they scattered around Clay County. Witnesses told stories of Trail and Boswell casually discussing murder before the 2017 slaying, recounting that they had spoken about murdering someone to gain powers through witchcraft, and about murdering someone and making a snuff film of it to sell and make lots of money. Aubrey Trail is said to have been a sex cult leader who claimed to be a vampire and a daddy to a dozen witches, to whom he pontificated about the powers one can supposedly derive from taking souls. Reportedly, Bailey Boswell was his queen witch. Jurors described the evidence against Bailey as overwhelming and told local news media outlets that it did not seem as though Boswell had been coerced into participating in the crime. Prosecutors painted a picture of a duo who ritualistically introduced women to kinky sex, torture, and witchcraft. They described a couple who, after fantasizing about murder for so long, just pounced on Loofe. Bailey Boswell is said to have sat emotionless with no reaction as the verdict was read. Next up, a 3-judge panel will decide, in a hearing that's scheduled to start on December 15th, whether Boswell will be the first Nebraska woman put to death or if she will spend the rest of her life behind bars. Check out the buzzworthy article by Noelle Hanica on MurderMurder.news, where you can follow this bonkers story for updates.
Wow, that is so freaking sad.
I know, it's sad, it's disturbing, and it's just like completely, like I say, bonkers.
It's really something out of a horror movie, and like we were recently just talking like privately about the Satanic Panic, and like it has those kinds of elements where it almost sounds fake.
Yeah.
Like with the witchcraft ankle, like it just seems like somebody with an agenda is like claiming that witches are doing these evil bad things. When actually like normally we're just like growing plants and taking herbs and like, you know, like doing simple things like tarot. Like it just sounds like something fake, like it's so messed up. Ugh.
Yeah, well, I feel like probably this Aubrey character, like I'm not sure if he can really believe what he's spouting here. Like I think that the women, unfortunately, that have been manipulated by him probably do believe it more than he does, because if he tells a convincing story it's easy for them to be like hopeful that they could achieve powers somehow if they believe, like if he's convincing enough. But I mean, obviously, I don't know, it's absurd for him to believe it, especially after committing murder. And, I think his queen witch, Bailey here, was not so innocent as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, no. We are so happy to report some good news for once about missing hiker 38-year-old Holly Courtier. Holly was miraculously found on Sunday after she was reported missing in Utah's Zion National Park almost 2 weeks earlier. Yet a sheriff sergeant involved in her search and rescue has placed some doubt on Holly's story. Holly was first reported missing by her family on October 8th after not hearing from her since October 6th. Around 1:30 p.m. on October 6th, she was dropped off by a private shuttle to Zion's Grotto area to hike the Kenyatta Trail and the Emerald Pools trails. According to another shuttle passenger, she was supposed to meet back at the entrance at 4:30 but never returned. Holly was from California but had recently lost her nanny job due to the pandemic and had been traveling around the country in a converted van. Holly and her daughter Kaylee had previously hiked trails at Zion together, and Kaylee said her mother was a very experienced hiker. A huge search effort was launched involving law enforcement, search dogs, and locals to the area. And luckily, Holly was found this past Sunday when a hiker called in a tip about having spotted her. According to Holly, she hit her head while hiking and became disoriented. She was dehydrated but stayed near a water source to stay alive. Yet with all this good news, Sergeant Daryl Cashin, who helped lead our search party, doubts her story. According to him, the Virgin River is not a clean water source with many species of parasites such as Cryptosporidium. According to Cashin, had she drank from the river, she would have been very sick and possibly would have died from the high levels of toxins. We want to hear your thoughts about the story. Does it seem a little bit suspicious to you, or is this kind of an ACAB situation where the sheriff is just victim blaming a woman who was actually dangerously lost in the woods?
This week, we're watching the newly released second half of the new season of Unsolved Mysteries. That's right, Netflix just released 6 new episodes of the modern revival of this true crime classic. New episodes include a mystery of a woman police believe drowned herself while her family believes something more sinister happened, and a potential spy story. Have you already watched all 6 episodes? We want to hear which case piqued your interest the most in the comments below.
We are so excited to have Gracie and Abby with us from this week's favorite podcast, Good Mourning Nancy. Hosted by longtime friends and self-proclaimed horror nerds, Good Mourning Nancy is about their favorite scary movies that will lift your spirit and give you the strength to join the living for the rest of the day. Abby and Gracie, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for having us.
I'm so excited to have you here. Your show's so good.
Thank you so much.
Well, one of the things that I love about your show is your friendship together. Like, it just feels like I'm hanging out with one of my friends talking about horror movies. Like, it's just so wonderful. How did the two of you meet, and what inspired you to start your podcast together?
Well, so Abby and I met because our moms were really good friends in high school. So we sort of grew up together. She is the youngest of 3 girls, and I am the eldest of 3 girls. So all of us sisters were really close growing up. And we were just sort of feeling kind of like a drag in our day-to-day lives. Like, I had an office job, she was a barista. And at my office job, I'd actually go and visit her because the restaurant that she worked at was near where I worked. And so, like, every day after work, I'd go and I'd see her and say hi. So we sort of started like talking a lot during that time, more than normal. And finally, I was like, we should start a podcast together. And we should talk about horror movies because I don't feel like I know enough horror movie like podcasts with women as the hosts.
So true.
Yes. And so she was like, yeah, let's do it.
I love that. I love that you two have known each other for so long and that like you still like each other enough to want to have like a morning coffee podcast. I love it.
Yeah, it's the best. It was a really cool opportunity for me too, because like I had never done anything like that. So when she said like, let's start a podcast, I was like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. What are we going to talk about?
Yeah, we can do this.
So what is your horror origin? When did you really know that horror movies were such a passion for you? Was there like a favorite horror movie? Was there an actual moment that you realized it?
You know, when I was a kid, I actually had a hard time reading. I like just couldn't get it. And my mom like was trying so hard to tutor me and try to get me to the place where I could read. And she was starting to feel so guilty that I was having a hard time reading. And finally she grabbed a Goosebumps book and she said, try this, maybe this will work. And it did. It was like I just needed to find something that I was interested in, and Goosebumps was it. And that was what I loved. And
so good.
Yeah, and so I was able to. My mom said it was like I had sight. All of a sudden, I was like, that says this, and that says this, and it was Goosebumps. Like that taught me how to read. Amazing. And it was like ever since then, like I was interested in those types of stories, like the scary stories to tell in the dark. And then of course the Goosebumps TV show, like as I was getting older and watching TV and stuff. And then when I was 9, I asked my mom if I could watch Friday the 13th. And she said, no. But I will take you to the video store and we can pick out some old horror movies for you to watch. And she bought me the entire Universal Studios monster collections, like the original Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein. She got me all of those, and that's basically what took off from there. So
good.
Yeah.
And how about for you, Abby?
Well, I grew up in a very conservative, born-again Christian household. So I have kind of always been attracted to like the opposite of what my parents have taught me. So like horror was like the forbidden fruit for a while. So we like weren't really allowed to watch it or read it or anything. And then since I had older sisters, they were the ones who kind of introduced me to it. And also my grandmother on my mom's side, she loved horror. So I was at my grandparents' house one day when I was like 9 or 10, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was on TV. And I was like, what is this? And I sat there and watched the whole thing, and I loved it. I was like obsessed. And since then, it's just kind of taken off from there. I watched the original House of Wax with my older sister, and that was another like introduction to horror for me. So yeah, since then, I just could not get enough. And my mom was like, oh God, here we go. But yeah, I love like where it has taken me and stuff in my life. I incorporate it into like art, and like I love the music community that surrounds it too. So horror is a huge, huge part of my life. So
awesome. Well, you've had some really great episodes. I particularly loved the episode on Love Witch, which is one of my favorite movies, and also The Witch, which I think I have a thing for witch movies. So those are two of my favorites, but I'm going to put you on the spot. What is your all-time favorite horror movie? And also, what's a movie you can't wait to discuss on the show?
Oh my gosh, this is such a hard question. So I that's tough. My favorite horror movie I think ever is also sort of a guilty pleasure because it is directed by somebody who is not a good person. I love Rosemary's Baby.
Ooh, yeah.
But Roman Polanski is
trash.
Is a garbage human.
Yeah.
So that's really hard for me because I think this film is almost perfect when it comes to horror and about maternity horror, especially after having a baby. I was like, I like get it now. So I really love that film, but my least problematic favorite is the Scream franchise. I love that franchise. I love every single film, even 3, which I think is terrible, but I still love it for what it is because I love the self-awareness. I love how it turns the final girl on its head, like Sydney Prescott, like she has sex in the first movie and she still is the survivor throughout all of these films. And I think that is super important for young women to see that like sex is not going to kill you, you know.
You're not going to be attacked by a demon.
Yeah. You're not gonna get attacked by a demon, or you're not going to get
murdered.
Killed in a slasher film. Like, you can be still a powerful, good person and have sex and still be the hero of your story.
Great points. And how about for you, Abby?
So if you would have asked me like a couple years ago, I probably would have said the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it's just been such a staple for me for as long as I've been into horror, obviously. But I think now with some of like the newer horror movies and directors emerging, I would really have to say it's kind of a toss-up between Midsommar and Hereditary.
Oh, yes.
If you listened to our episode about Hereditary, Gracie and I tell the story of when we went and saw it in the theater and how much it scarred us. But I really can't remember the last time a horror movie had elicited such a reaction from me. Like, I was horrified, I sobbed, I was like crawling out of my skin by the end of the movie. It just made me so uncomfortable, but I loved that element of it. And I kind of had to go back and watch it a couple of times to kind of like settle down a little bit. But yeah, I love anything that Ari Aster does. He's probably my favorite director right now.
So genius.
Yeah, truly. So, yeah.
Right. Well, where can our viewers find you on social media? Because we don't want them to miss any of your episodes.
You can find us on Facebook at Good Mourning Nancy, and you can find us on Instagram at Good Mourning Nancy Podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at Good Mourning Nan, and this is morning with an O-U. So, morning, not good. Morning.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure having you both.
Thank you so much, Aurora. We had so much fun.
We'll have to do this again.
We are having a big giveaway, and you have less than a week to enter to win a big basket of murder merch just by registering at the MurderMurder.news commune. The prize basket includes our MurderMurder News tote bag and t-shirt, a Stay Spooky shirt in any size you like from Stay Lucky Boutique, a killer necklace from Forensic Miles, this Son of a Witch zip pouch from DeKaylee Shop, a Good Wine and True Crime sticker from Lacey Olson, and this Talk Murder to Me mug from Mug Matters Studio. All of this awesome murder merch is worth over $150 with no purchase necessary. All you have to do is go to MurderMurder.news to register your account and let us shower you with true crime presents. We'll have 2 winners, one in the US and one in Canada, and we'll announce the winners next Friday in our Halloween special. We love reading your comments as long as you aren't a troll, and we wanted to thank Jocelyn Scholl for commenting that she loves our new merch and for reminding us that we just hit 1,000 subscribers. We appreciate all of you.
Thanks to Crimson Red 13 for commenting that she loved my Love Witch makeup last week. Thanks for noticing. It's one of my favorite movies.
Thanks so much for tuning into This Week in True Crime with MurderMurder News. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below, give us a thumbs up, and tell all of your true crime friends.
Come join our commune at MurderMurder.news, and for just $5 a month, you can help keep the true crime lights on. Along with helping support Murder Murder News, your membership also gets you access to our site with cold case solving groups and book club. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. See you next week.